Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Grant D. Venerable, that's right, Dr. Venerable, we should call him, our honored guest and, of course, Professional of the Year. We are ecstatic to have him here joining us today. How are you doing, Grant?
Well, I'm fine today. It's been a busy week and a rainy week.
Oh, really? In California? I just thought you always had good weather.
A rainy weekend. They've had an atmospheric river coming down from the north.
Wow.
Along the coast.
Wow. Well, I'm hoping you're okay and
Yes,
alive and
very.
well. You're looking good. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to focus on today. I mean, in the past, we've talked about your work as a doctor, as a chemist, as a pianist, as an artist, as a chemist. I mean, there's been so much that we've got to know about you, and we love speaking with you to really, absorb all this knowledge you have. What did you want to enlighten with us today?
Well, I want to start with some major themes.
Okay.
Called language, mythology, meaning, and free will.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those came up in conversations with friends over the weekend. One was referring to a book that's relatively recent by Robert Sapolsky, and I was urged to read it. And when I looked at the descriptions of it online, I realized it was like me talking to myself. But part of that, I raised my cup of chocolate milk to the audience because this time of year, especially, memory is so significant. Thanksgiving. And the chocolate milk brings out memories. It contains endorphins, which are neurotransmitter substances, which do very nice things in the brain. For me, it enhances my memory. It enhances thoughts of experiences, delightful experiences from the past. I also started reading again in the prologue of my book called Footprints in the Chaotic Unknown. And even just thinking of the word footprint, it started out as footsteps. And then I realized I really meant footprint, because a footprint is made by a footstep in the soil and the earth and the sand on the beach. And it's made with the full weight of our human body coming down on our feet. And there's many stories about footprints in the sand. So that's what this memoir that I started back in 2011 is about. My footprints of significant people in my life. And what those footprints, theirs and my own, have done to shape my life, which gets more obvious the more years I put under my belt. And that came up in discussions of free will. In fact, the title of Sapolsky's book is really fascinating. The Science of Life Without Free Will. And I haven't read it yet, but I'm waiting for a copy to appear in my mailbox so I can read it and confirm some of the description about it. Because in a sense, there's no free will. Because there's no free will, there is free will. That's part of the paradox of Jubal, the little character that I've talked about so often. Jubal is what underlies the double shadow in human existence. That is not a sinister shadow. It's just a shadow. Yeah. When a light is projecting on, say it shines on a pole or an object, and behind it we get an image. We get a silhouette or a shadow image on a screen. And of course, this double shadow is when the original shadow can look back at itself, when it can reflect in itself. And then that's where we get into this idea of free will. Many people have written about free will. I've written about it in the prologue of my memoir about one of my great grandmothers who was born in the late 1700s. And it was this thought is stimulated by a letter, well, many letters that she wrote.
Yep.
Well, most people in the United States were pretty illiterate. I mean, they could read for the most part, but they didn't necessarily write or read that well. And I think we take it for granted today, where we've had public schools, that everybody can read, everybody can write.
Mm-hmm.
But this is about letters written by Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Uh-huh.
And that leads to another theme. It leads to something that I wrote down in the first paragraph of the memoir. This first paragraph talks about Lucy's letters. Her letters are filled with family news, more fascinating than most of us read in a year. I only know Lucy through a few of her letters that came unexpectedly into my possession some years ago, probably 25 years ago. The how of this, along with their historic backdrop, is the theme of a larger story about to unfold on the pages of this memoir, but especially in the prologue. It is the epic saga of my forebears and their exodus to the promised land of a better life, only to discover that where they arrived was where they began, in an unknown region inside themselves, called authenticity, the quality of being authentic. Lucy's letters are striking for their simplicity, content, self-awareness, and encoded language, and more so perhaps for what they do not say. Lucy does not write, but she can create letters by dictating them to friends who live in the region where she lives in Kentucky, just a little bit south of Louisville. And it's amazing. She signs her letters with X. That's what many of the illiterate people of the United States would do. They would sign their letters, their forms, with an X. And if they were people in bondage in Kentucky or the Deep South, they would use an X. And they would talk to the person who's actually doing the handwriting of the letter.
Yep.
Well, Lucy had some interesting things to say in her letters.
Interesting.
Upon reading one of her letters, I dropped into something like a deep trance-like state in an unknown region of myself. It was as if I had ingested what Beatles disciples believed they saw encoded in the 1967 song title, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. But John Lennon and Paul McCartney denied any psychedelic dream world or alternate reality connection. But I could not get around the unmistakable connection between Lucy, the writer of letters, and Lucy, the mythical presence in the Beatles song. It is left to you to decide for yourself as you accompany me on this literary pronouncement. And so what I did was reproduce some of the letters here. My cousin in the San Joaquin Valley transcribed the original letter, which was handwritten, into a typewritten facsimile. And so she writes this on November the 30th. So we're coming near an anniversary of that letter. And she wrote it to her, my dear daughter, Ari, A-R-Y. I just received your letter 3 or 4 weeks ago. But this is the first opportunity I had to get anyone to write to you for me. And of course, I already said, Lucy doesn't write. She has to get a friend who write her letters to put in the mail. And then Lucy says, I was glad to hear that you and yours were well. This is all in Kentucky, but sorry that your child was absent from you. I hope that she has returned to you by this time. I expected to go to Louisville on purpose to live with Eliza Ellen, but she's not going to housekeeping this winter. Consequently, I shall not go before spring. And then my annotated voice comes in and I say, mystery enters the picture. Who is the child? Where did she go and why? Lucy quickly sidesteps these questions by mentioning her winter residency with Eliza Ellen. But how curious, I thought. Admittedly, domestic servant housekeeping is something many women in Lucy's socioeconomic class do to earn a living.
Wow.
And then I get back to the text. You must not think, this is Lucy again. You must not think that I'm less anxious about your soul's salvation because there was nothing said to you about it in my last letter.
Oh.
It was not my fault.
Mm-hmm.
I told Lowry to tell you to meet me in heaven. Turn ye, for why will ye die? God the Spirit asks you why. And then I come in with the annotated voice, the offstage voice. Excuse me, but did I get that right? From absent child to the soul's salvation. Lucy suddenly lets loose with a zinger. Meet me in heaven. This is an important element in many Christian prophetic traditions as she invokes a scriptural reference. Ezekiel, 33rd chapter, 11th verse. Her reference is followed by the rhyming words of an old hymn tune. God the Spirit asks you why, but Lucy does not stop there. Then she says, it would be great pleasure to me to hear of your conversion before my death. Wow. Do not bring your mother's gray hairs down in the grave in sorrow by living in sin all your days, but seek the Lord while he may be found and call upon him while he is near. I have one question to ask you. Now, I'm saying in the background, the plot thickens with suggestion of Ari's conversion, presumably to Lucy's Christian beliefs. The text begins to reveal things to which Lucy and people of similar faith persuasion give emphasis on a daily basis. But what could be the nature of her daughter's sin? Lucy does not say, but it also seems likely that Lucy is invoking encoded language here. She says, will you promise me in your next letter that you will try to serve the Lord? If you will not, your mother's heart is grieved. I pause for a reply. And then Lucy talks about friends who have died in the neighborhood and your cousin who is a grand Presbyterian preacher. He started to Missouri to live until spring on last Friday. So all kinds of little personal factoids. So here Lucy lightens up on the warnings concerning her daughter's soul and injects some hometown news. And then she says, Ari, I do not think you treated me with that respect that is due to a mother. by not writing to me until I written to you. I suppose if I had never wrote to you, you never would have written to me. Lowry says he doubts very much whether you would or not. He is a member of the Methodist Church. His mother, Humphrey, is a Presbyterian. Now, Mother Lucy fusses through one more admonition. We never learn who Lowry is, except that he is an influential member of Lucy's inner circle. But anyway, Lucy continues. She says, your sister Leedy is living with Mary Hagan at Fairfield. She was well at last account. Maria was on recess as of her last letter. The family join me in love to you. Give my love, Mr. and Mrs. Wood. Now may the grace of God and the influence of his Holy Spirit be with you, and do not forget to meet me in heaven. Adieu, your mother, Lucy Scott. And then my backstage voice is, much is hinted in the last lines of the letter. Lucy cites two more items about Aries' sister, Leedy, and about Maria. We are not told who Mary Hagan is, but the last two lines seem fairly dripping in coded messages. And then the bombshell revelation is, this letter was written November the 30th, 1856. This was it was before the Civil War between the states. So the rest of the account here in the memoir builds up to factoids about what's going on here. What's going on with Ari, this this daughter, Lucy, who's my great-great-grandmother, my mother's grandmother. I think that's how I would put it. But here we get thoughts of Isabel Wilkerson's book on on distant sun, the warmth of distant suns. My late mother, Thelma Scott Venerable, was only one descendant of these migrants whose destination would be Chicago and Omaha, as well as Oklahoma, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, and finally California. This is a cameo portrait of the latter days and aftermath of a shameful, discredited institution that assumed a collage of atomic forms. What this letter, what I'm using it to tease out how life is lived by people in that part of the universe, in Kentucky, in a very rural area of Kentucky. And so we're still trying to probe, okay, what were the sins here? And that's what the memoir gets into, that the operative fact here is that Lucy Scott is an enslaved African-American woman born in the 1780s in Virginia, who probably took the surname of her owners. Perhaps almond caramel colored in complexion, she may have been only 2 or 3 generations removed from at least one forebear who came by slave ship from West Africa. She bore her daughter Ari during slavery in Springfield, Kentucky, around 1810, within a matter of months and only 30 miles from Abe Lincoln's birth in Hodgenville, Kentucky. So a lot of threads come together here, and this is where things get dicey, because Ari's father, or Lucy's father, may have been white. And I think a couple of podcasts ago, we talked about race for the first time. We really got into the simplistic fantasies ridiculousness about race operating in our lives today. When we write race on an application for something to go to a school or something, and it's no more than a tracer of the geography of where your ancestors came from.
Yeah.
It means no more than that. But yet we've made this big deal about race. And that's where I start, where the deal came from. It came from places like Springfield, Kentucky.
Wow.
And the deal is that we know from family records that Ari had 10 children. 8, we know their names.
Oh.
And we at least know the names of the fathers of 3 of the children who had white fathers, and 2 of the children who had black fathers from other plantations. This is the extraordinary mystery of America that comes up in titles like DEI today.
Sure is.
That
Wow.
nobody knows anything about. But this memoir, I have dared, and I say dared because some people get a little bit excited and shaky over this kind of information. And the government now doesn't seem to want you to write it down or teach it. But that's what it gets into. And it comes to the idea of free will, that Ari, we think, possessed enough free will that she was going to determine the appearance, at least, and maybe the intelligence of her children, by whom she had children by, since there was no marriage legally available interracially. Interesting. We take that so much for granted today.
Sure do.
Get a marriage license, but that was not always the case. So how much time do we have at this point?
Oh, sweetie, we got 4 minutes left. Bring it on.
That's what I want to tie together, that free will plays a very paradoxical role in human existence in the United States today.
Yeah.
And that's particularly why I pointed this out, because it gets down to how we as individuals make choices for ourselves, and how those choices have consequences, and what causes us to make choices. Are they free will, or are they something that's conditioned by our genetics, our cultural upbringing, and by friends and peers in the area, and what we watch on television, which they didn't have in Kentucky in 1850s. So how's that?
Wow. I never thought we could break down that song like that and do all. It's fascinating. Oh my, you hear about all these things and no one talks about them. And then, wow, that was impressive. I got a big history lesson here and a music lesson all in one. I think we all did.
So that's really what the memoir, it gets at the marrow of that issue, where it started, at least recently, and comes up to today and its consequences. What does free will have to do with any of that?
Yeah.
That's all up in the air.
Yeah.
For conversation, which I plan to do more of in the future.
Well, we love and you converse. There's so much going on to this. Let me ask you, in the memoir, how can people obtain the memoir? Where do we find it? This is good stuff. I want to hear more if you give us another sample next week.
Right now, the best place to find it is online. Go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoblesBooks.com or Apple, and you'll see descriptions of 4 volumes worth of ebooks under that title, Footprints in the Chaotic Unknown, by Grant D. Venerable II.
Perfect.
And you can also go look at the website, Grant D. Venerable PhD, mytuner-radio.com.
Right. And how did you want to leave off for today?
Today is like a getting ready for Thanksgiving, to give thanks for what we do have and giving thanks for what we don't have yet, that we desire to have, and that we have much free will to shape our lives. And that comes up especially with Thanksgiving and being with family and enjoying that belonging that goes with being in a family. So I know all of my siblings were driving to Phoenix, Arizona to be with some of the nephews and nieces and
Really?
out there.
Oh,
So
wonderful. Well, will we be back again next week, or is it Thanksgiving? Now I'm confused. Wait.
say that again.
Are we back next week, or is that Thanksgiving week? We're back, no?
We have to, I guess, reflect on that. What is today, the 17th?
I'm so confused
Well,
myself.
I'll still be around until Wednesday.
Yep, perfect. Us too. All right,
Yeah.
me too. Good God. We'll see
Yeah.
you then next week. I got confused. You have a great day,
Okay.
sweetheart. Thank you, and we'll talk again
Okay.
later.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Jill. Thank you.
Thank you, and
Bye-bye.
congrats again.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.